Welcome, everyone, to Evolution on the Mic. I am your host, Ariana de la Cruz.
And I'm your co-host, Antoine Dove.
And we are so excited to have you here today, season 2, The Power of Words, episode 5, Words Have the Power to Destroy. In our last episode, episode 4, we introduced the power of words with others, how words can build or destroy. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Today, we're going to talk about the power of words with others and how the words we choose to use can cause death and destruction in the life of others. So, Antoine, we're so excited. You're going to take us through these principles and these teachings. Again, God put this in your heart, and I'm so excited for you to share this with us. So, but before we get there, I want to know, you know what I mean, like how you're doing. How's your week been since we last met?
I'm doing great.
Yeah,
I've really been spending more time on developing skills. So there's
awesome.
just sharpening some of my skills. So one of the things I've recently started doing is I'm participating in an organization called Toastmasters. It's an international organization, but they help people with perfecting their speaking skills. And so, as you
Nice.
know, with the podcast, we're always talking, and we will be speaking on stages and talking to folks, in the next year or two. And so, I feel it's important that this is a gift that I've received from God that I need to continue to work on this gift and build on my skills and get better at it. And so I've joined this organization that helps with that, and we do talks and things throughout the week, which has been great. And then I'm also going to be enrolling in a coaching mentorship, and this is really to help me to build skills around coaching people and becoming a life coach. For a long time, I've thought about doing life coaching, but I didn't do it because I felt like I didn't have enough life experience to coach
Mm.
anyone or to become a life coach. But what I realized, especially through this podcast, is that there are experiences that I've been through that other people are going through now. It's just a matter of finding those people and who's going through it. And so I believe truly that we are all here on this earth to add value and to share and learn from each other. And I feel that this is just another way in which I can continue to give and bring value to this world. So I'm really excited about that. It's something that has been on my list of things to do that I have not had a chance to get around to. But I am starting that now, which is fantastic. So that's a few things that I have going on, in my world right now. What about yourself? I'm
That's
sure
awesome.
you are like crushing it at every single thing you're doing.
No, I
Probably
mean,
have
like it's
businesses you
so
started.
it's so like crazy to me, the amount of things that as you're doing it, it's like I'm in alignment with that without us even really talking. Because you talking about Toastmasters and because you want to perfect or enhance your speaking because of the podcast, and we're gonna be on stages. And I actually enrolled in a course myself that's going to teach me how to speak, how to be a better podcaster, how to create like my message for my motivational speeches that I want to do for just me in general as a motivational speaker outside of the podcast. But it's also gonna teach about podcasting and all of that and how to formulate things. So you actually, Antoine, put me on to this. It's called 10x stages. I believe Grant Cardone is
Mhm.
like one of the people that created it. So you had sent me a link like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and to audition, right? To be on the 10x stages that they actually have, I think, at the end of February. And you had mentioned it to me. You had sent me the link, and I was all nervous, like, why you send me this? Like, I ain't ready to like audition, to be a contestant in a, that's gonna be on like TV and stuff like that. Like, I ain't ready for that. And you sent it to me, and like it was like the next day on a Saturday. So long story short, I was not gonna do it. I was not ready. I did not have no speech ready at all. But God is good, God is big, and I was on my computer at noon that Saturday at 12 p.m. I got an email like, oh, we're live for the, for the auditions. So I just joined. Mind you, I had not did my hair. I was like in pajamas, and I was like, let me just see what they're doing in there. So they're giving tips on how to prepare a 60-second speech. And I'm like, but they're telling you like how you should, what it should be, the things that it should have, and how it should impact, but it has to be very to the point. And I started getting a download, right? And it started with, imagine being 18 years old, a super senior in high school, and you're convincing your mother to sign you out of school. That was me, Ariana de la Cruz. And all these thoughts started coming to me, I don't know. And I was like, write it down, that's good. Right. And like I literally came up with my 60-second on the dot script for that audition.
Wow.
And I was like, I raised my hand. They were like, okay, everybody that's going to audition, just raise your hand. It was like a Zoom call. And I literally went and I did it. I raised my hand. So I knew I had like at least an hour because there was a whole bunch of people there. So I ran like to get like, a little bit, do something with myself because I was not looking presentable. So I had time to write down my script, my 60-second script, go get myself ready, sit back down. And within like 10 minutes of me sitting down, they called me to audition. I auditioned. I didn't make it, right? But it's okay because at least I put myself out there. But the
Yes.
comments was overwhelming. The comments was like, wow, powerful message, very relatable. You need to be on every stage. Like the messages in the comments that people were saying after I finished, like I started crying. Like I started crying out of gratitude that I needed those words, you know what I mean? Like it made me feel good. Like these people didn't know me. I just gave a 60-second little thing that I just did out of nowhere, didn't plan for it. And yet it was impactful. And yet my message hit home to a lot of the people in there. So I signed up for a workshop. It's called the 10X workshop, and it's a 2-day, full-day workshop in Miami. And I'm gonna be there, and I'm excited because it's literally going to equip me on how to be a better speaker and how to formulate my speeches. And they're gonna like literally when I leave there, from what they said, I'm going to leave with a breakdown of my core message and how to deliver that. So I'm
That's good.
excited. So isn't that like so coincidental
I
that
love
you're
that
doing the
story.
Toastmasters because you want to become a better speaker for this podcast and for everything that God is doing in your life, and God has also pushed me in that direction too. So
I love that.
yeah.
Man. And I wish I could have been in the room when you were giving that speech, because knowing, just in working with you on this podcast, knowing your backstory, I can only imagine how the words you were saying were hitting to people. Like when you said, someone said that's so relatable, I can 100% believe that, because your story is relatable, things you've gone through and how vulnerable you've been. People, you say the things that people are thinking, you say them, and you own them. I'm so grateful that I get a chance to be on the podcast with you and do that, because even from just listening and hear you do it, I know for my own self, I've opened up about vulnerabilities. I mean, I was on a podcast talking about sex. Let's
I
be
know.
real. So like I love that, the direction that God continues to push us and elevate us in. And it's just, again, even more signs and ways in which God's communicating to us to show we're on the right track. Like we're
Yeah.
doing the things, and He wants us to continue to do these things in not only glory for Him, but also to spread His love, His energy, the awesomeness that He is with everyone we touch. And I'm so grateful for that. So good for you.
Yeah.
Miami with Uncle G.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I'm super excited. So I mean, overall, everything is going well. I'm continuing to follow what God is asking of me. And even though sometimes I'm like, God, there's more do you want me to do? I'm just grateful that He believes that I can do it, and I believe that I can do it, and that I'm going to just take action on
Mm.
everything that I need to do because I want to get better, but I'm excited for this episode and for you to kind of lead us into this discussion of, how the words we use can cause death and destructions in the lives of others. So Antoine, go ahead and again, the baton is yours.
Oh, no
Floor is
problem.
yours.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, I mean, I'm really grateful for the conversation we had in the last episode because I think that really set us up for everything we're going to talk about now. And so if you are listening to this podcast and you have not listened to episode 4 of season 2, please go back and listen to episode 4 of season 2 because that really sets the foundation around the power of words and the importance of the power of words with others and how that can either create life or it can create destruction. It can either build or it can destroy. And we break that down really nicely in episode 4, which I think you will find really helpful. But as we now get into episode 5, this is really about us doing a deeper dive into destruction and how the words we speak have the power to destroy. Now, speaking from my own personal experience, there's been things I know I've said in my lifetime that I regretted after saying it. It's like kind of one of those things where you say something, and as soon as that last word leaves your lips, you go, whoops, I probably shouldn't have said that. I found myself in that position, not a lot of times, but definitely a few times more than I wanted to. And a lot of it's because I've reacted from a place of emotion, or as we were saying in episode 4, thoughtlessness, where I wasn't really thinking and I was just responding to something. So I wanted to start us off with just kind of a question, and I'll pose it to you. I'll start first, but give you some time to think about how you would respond to this, Ari. But what is something that you have said to someone that still haunts you today? Like something that you wish you had never said. And so when I was thinking about this question for myself, what's interesting is that I did not have a specific experience come up. It was more of the experiences I've had and what I felt during those experiences. So for me, the big thing was hate. I've had situations in my life where, whether it be from an argument, conversation, a spirited discussion, where I've thrown the word hate out. I hate you, or I hate everything about you, or I'll wish ill will. I wish I never had to see you again. And sometimes we throw these words out very flippantly. We just kind of throw them out as though, like, oh, well, that's how I felt in that moment. But if we go back to this episode, right, words have power. So how would you feel? And this is where I had to kind of go back. How would I feel if I said to someone, I wish I never had to see you again? And in saying those words, that person, something happened to them. They passed away. Any terrible thing that could happen. How would I feel knowing that those were the words I said and they manifested themselves into the physical world and they actually occurred? And so when I think about this thing and things that haunt me, the thought of hate, the thought of wishing ill will on someone, it really gets me to my core because I don't really believe that. I don't really feel that, but that's what comes out. So, what about you? Ari, as you think about this,
Yeah.
were there any specific examples
You
that came up
know,
for
you
you?
know what? Like at first, no, and as you were talking, like something hit me, and it's like gut wrenching because I'm like, oh, but it's in a different way. So it's not something that I directly said to someone because I found it difficult to find something that I said to someone directly, even though I'm sure, I'm sometimes I'm mean and blunt, and I say things that harm and offend, and I don't mean to. But I'm gonna take this in what hit me when as you were talking, and it was more in the sense of gossip, right? How my words in the sense of gossiping and talking about somebody or saying something about somebody to someone that didn't had no business knowing information about someone, right? I haven't done that a lot, but there was this one time that I can think about that I did that, like giving somebody that's close to me information to someone else that, you know what I mean, maybe destroyed a relationship or something like that, a bond, because I went and said something that that person maybe did that, they held a secret with me, but I was gossiping and I said it without meaning to, right? Or maybe I meant to, and I meant to cause harm, but you know what I mean? I wasn't in a good place, or for whatever reason, that's what kind of hit me in the sense of gossiping and just talking about someone. And that makes me feel really nasty. It's not something that I like to do. It's not something that I do, right, that I practice a lot, because I'm just gonna speak my mind and say what it is, and it's never and I'm very loyal and I stick to my words. So for the most part, it makes me feel some type of way, because I like to believe that like I'm loyal and you can tell me something and your secrets are gonna die with me. So in this one situation, I didn't hold my reputation with myself, or those values with myself. And I said something that, I feel caused harm to that person, even though I didn't directly, it was indirectly, because I was in a gossip, and I used my tongue to speak negative about this person to someone. Does that make sense? So and
Yeah,
that's
no, absolutely.
and yeah, and that has made me feel some type of way and feel, bad about myself for doing that. So totally,
I
we
mean,
gotta be
that
careful
brings
with
up
our
that brings
tongue.
up so much, like even as I'm listening to you, there's a couple of things that come up which I didn't talk about directly, but you've kind of brought up indirectly, which is I was speaking more about something I've said directly to someone, but you
Mm-hmm.
the whole idea
Yeah.
of something you've said behind someone's back, or you've said indirectly about them,
Or
and
gossip,
how,
because
or
we spoke
gossip,
about
right?
that last episode about
Right.
that was one of the
The
things that we
conniving
want to
tongue.
that we,
Yes.
we want to stay away from. So that's when it
Mhm.
hit me, like there's different things. So let me hit it on a different perspective.
I like that. Because, yeah, I mean, regardless of whether the words are spoken directly to someone or just spoken in general, we all know who, if you have any kind of understanding of manifestation and how our words do have power, we all know that once you've put something out there, right, like it's out there. Like you've introduced the idea, even if it was something that you said jokingly or playingly in a playful way. And I think when I was growing up, that was why my mom and my grandmother were very adamant about us as children being careful about the things we said. Even if we were saying it in a joking way, they were very on top of us to say, yeah, but you don't want to say those type of things because those things could easily become a truth, or those things really do hurt and do have power and could manifest themselves in some way in the future. So, all right, there was something else you brought up that I think was important, which was we both found it very difficult to remember the thing, like a
Mm.
specific example of something where we said something to someone that haunts us today. And I don't know, the inspector in me or the inquisitive mind of mine is just wondering, I wonder why that is the case, like why it was. Like, I don't know if, maybe it's just because we've blocked that memory out because to us it just there was so much pain there, or maybe it could just be simply that we just don't we aren't aware of how those words may have hurt someone. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I think for me is that I'm not aware that what I say is harmful to someone until they tell me.
Mm,
And sometimes it's like 2 months later, and it's like, oh, why didn't you like answer my text or call me? It's been a while. Well, because the last time we spoke, you said this, and you made me feel like this. And I'm like, what? I did? I totally didn't know that, or I totally didn't mean it that way. Like, so these are things that like it's typically I am not aware if I say something that's offensive or I put somebody in their feelings. I see it like I'm being honest, or I'm speaking the truth, or I'm saying the stuff that no one else would say. Like I'm gonna be the one to say it. So, but it's like they won't tell me until way later.
mm-hmm,
It was because I said something, and I'm like, I'm totally not aware, and it's scary to me. Like sometimes I have fears of speaking to certain people about certain things that's on my mind, because it's like, am I gonna offend them? Are they gonna get mad at me? Or they're not gonna want to talk to me no more? And I just would rather avoid and not say anything, but it's hard for me not to say anything because I'm such like a righteous person where it's like what's right, what's wrong. When I'm right, I'm gonna make sure you know, or when you're wrong, I'm gonna make sure you know, right? And we're gonna fix this. I'm always looking for the solution. But it's like I already see how many times, without me meaning to, I put people in their feelings. So it was very hard for me to come up with a specific example of me telling someone directly something that hurt their feelings or that I made them feel some type of way. But I know I
Yes.
have, but it's just I can't say I've directly done it because I don't recall being conscious of
Mm.
and like saying something to you consciously to hurt you. It's usually like I didn't mean to. I totally didn't mean to come you. I didn't mean it in that way.
Yeah, you're coming from a place of truth, is what I hear, and
Yeah.
and I think it's a fine line, right? Like, I mean, we should value truth, but sometimes the truth hurts. And if you're someone who is consistently speaking from a place of truth, not only to other people, but even for your own life, I'd imagine it's hard to turn that switch off. Like, I,
Mm-hmm.
I think about the times where, and I've either been in relationships, like dating intimately, or just friendships where I've been with people who speak their truth all the time. And I've even turned to them at times and said, if I said that back to you, how would that make you feel? And usually the response is, I'd appreciate it. So it doesn't necessarily have the same effect. It's just that, again, it's an awareness thing. Like, I'm speaking truth. I don't see that I'm doing any harm. I just feel that if anything, I'm helping you because I'm giving you some truth that I'm seeing externally that maybe you don't see internally, which is kind of where I feel that comes from. But I wanted to back up a second and just kind of go back to this whole concept of death. So when we talk about words having the power to destroy or to bring death, the death that we're referring to is not a physical death. I want to make sure
Mm,
that's clear. It's not a physical death. It's more of a metaphorical thing. So death could mean the end of something. It can mean to stop growing. So think about, and I love the stop growing one, because think about even in your own personal life. Like, let's say you have this amazing idea for a business and you're putting in the time and effort, and you go to share it with your loved ones. It could be your wife, it could be anyone that's really close to you that you love, and you finally share the idea with them and they tell you it's the dumbest idea that they've ever heard, right?
mm,
That's such a dumb idea. Why would you do that? And you immediately feel small. You immediately feel everything that you've worked on, that you were so excited for, now just comes crumbling down and crashes down. That's a great example of death, right? Metaphorical death. Like, you're not dying physically, but this idea, this thing that you've birthed, that you've are so excited about, has in some ways just died because someone that you love, someone that's close to you, has just told you that what you're trying to do doesn't make any sense. And we take that in. And so I've seen this with relationships. It could be the end of a relationship. It could be the end to a thought or idea. It can be the end to love, which in some ways could turn into hate. It could even be the end to joy, which could turn into anger. All of these are examples of death, and they come up for us in different ways. Another
mm,
example on the love side is like arguing. Like, how many of us have been in relationships where we have arguments? Arguments, it's just a part of it. As you building a
yeah.
relationship, you're not always going to agree on everything. You're going to have things where you're at odds with each other. You have a difference of opinion. But arguing with a loved one and the words that are said that we know we didn't truly mean, but we say it in that moment, it has the ability to make someone feel pain and to feel our
Mm,
rage. And those are great examples of, think about it. If you have someone who's always full of life, you have someone that's always full of joy, and then anytime you get angry or upset with them and you're having an argument, you rain down your rage and fury on them, it immediately dims that light. That joy, that excitement completely turns dark. You lose that joy and excitement. You see that death truly come over that person as they lose their joy and excitement
mm.
for life or just even for that day. And so I don't know if Ariana, if you've had any experiences of something like that, or maybe you've even experienced that with other people, or maybe someone tried to bring death on you.
No, I mean, I can definitely see it in the sense of in a relationship, definitely the words can totally mess up a relationship.
Mm,
The words that I speak when I'm with someone, if I'm not getting my way or if I'm in my feelings, and I start telling them how they could be doing this or they should be doing this, or I bring up my ex and how my ex used to be doing this and why you not, well, they used to do it, and that brings somebody's self-esteem down. Well, I'm not good enough for you, right? So I've had exes, tell me, well, then, I can never measure up because I'm never like satisfied, right? So my words, right? Me just wanting to be seen, me and my toxic self relationship, from my past, it did bring death into that person, which ultimately caused death into the relationship
mm,
because of my words, of me being maybe too negative or be having my expectations too high or expecting that person to make me happy, and that person is just like, then I can never measure up to your expectations of love or expectations of what you expect of me or what I can how I can make you happy, like, and those relationships end up dying like naturally. It's like we're and
yeah.
ultimately when it comes to that, I can totally see those my words affecting my relationships
And
and killing it completely.
I love what you said. You actually said something that kind of just goes into the next piece because again, I'm the inquisitive person. I want to know, like, well, why? Like, where does that come from? Why do we feel the need that when we're hurting, we feel the need that we have to hurt someone else? And I truly believe that those feelings are born out of three things:
Mm,
the feeling of us not feeling as though we're seen, the feeling of us as though not feeling as though we're heard, or the feeling as though we're not feeling understood. So,
mm,
seen, heard, and understood are the three that come to mind for me. And if you think about it, and I'm using myself as an example, if I'm trying to do something, use that example of someone starting a business. I start a business and I bring it to my wife to show my wife, like, look at what I've done. I had this amazing idea. I've built it. I've brought it. Here you go. I'm bringing this to you. And in that moment, she doesn't have the reaction that I'm expecting. Well, as I told the story, you would think, wow, what an, like, how can that woman even like do that to that person? I'm saying a woman, but it can be vice versa. Like, how could someone, after you're bringing an idea and it's your loved one, why couldn't you show support? But we don't know the backstory, right? Like, you may have been working on that idea and completely neglecting your family. Like, you've been so enthralled in that idea that your wife or the significant other that you're with didn't feel seen. Maybe the wife has shared things with you that they wanted you to understand, and you just weren't understanding it because you were so enthralled with that thing that you're working on. And so over time, those feelings build up. And at some point, enough's enough, and you're going to let it go. And so there are ways where I feel that we can reframe the situations that we're in so that when we're feeling as though we're not being seen, we're not being heard, we're not being understood, that we could reframe it in a way that that does not become the narrative that we live by. And really, to me, not feeling seen, not feeling heard, not feeling understood is really a factor of really not feeling respected, not feeling
mhm.
acknowledged, not feeling as though things are fair. Like, if you start to feel almost as though you're less of a person. And
Yeah.
this is where, to me, the reframing starts to come. And it goes way back to the first season and some of the things we talked about in season one, in the first couple of episodes, which was all about understanding who you are. So if we know who we are and whose we are, which starts with being a child of God, then we
Mm,
know that you are seen. I am seen because I'm a child of God. God sees me. I am heard because I'm a child of God and God answers my prayers. I am understood because I'm a child of God and God is in me, so he understands me. when you start to connect the dots and you understand the fact that I'm a child of God, and because I'm a child of God, all these things that I feel as though I'm lacking, which is causing me to respond the way I'm responding,
Mm-hmm.
is really not my reality. It's what I'm creating. It's not the truth. The truth is, I'm a child of God. And if I'm a child of God, I'm not lacking. God is not lacking. God is abundance. So all the things I think as though I don't have, I do have because God is in me. God is me. I am God. I am a child of God. And so I think once we reframe that thought process of I'm not seen, I'm not heard, I'm not understood, and we put it in the context of I am a child of God, and because I'm a child of God, I am seen, I am heard, I am understood, then that helps you to tell a different story. You start to think about things differently. So when someone's approaching you with this energy, this negative energy, or whatever it may be, or someone's trying to destroy you, when you reframe, something, you can then start to build because now you're looking at it from a different perspective. You're not looking at it head on. Now you're looking at it from the side. And by looking at it from the side, you can see something that you couldn't see before. And because you can see that, now you understand. And your response is very different. And so as I think about this in my own life, it's something that I personally have to constantly be aware, even with myself, even with my daughter, right? If I'm having a tough day, like let's say I'm stressed, I'm exhausted, and my daughter comes running in and she sees me and she just wants to show me love. And the first thing I want to do is I'm like, baby, not right now because I need some time to myself. Well, what is it that I'm feeling? Is the first thing I do. Check in. Well, what is it that I'm feeling? Okay, I'm feeling exhausted. I'm feeling stressed, right? And she's running in here and she's wanting me to fill her up with love, but she's not seeing in this moment that I'm exhausted and I'm stressed. And she's not. She's 7. She's a kid. But I have the power within me, like you were saying in our first conversation in episode 4 about this, Ariana. We have the power to change. I have the power in me to shift the narrative and create something different. And that power starts with me saying, I am a child of God. And so, yes, I've had a stressful day, but God knows my heart and God sees me and God loves me. And because God loves me, God wants me to pour that love into this beautiful girl who's coming in. And guess what? What you may not see is that the love that you needed is coming to you through your daughter because she's coming in to show it to you because she's excited that you're here. But you're missing your blessing because you're focused on you. You're missing what God has sent you because you're focused on you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the power that we harness when we understand one, we are a child of God, and two, any situation we're in can change because God has the ability to change that situation. We have the ability to change that situation because God has already given us everything we need inside of us to do what we need. So this really hit for me. And it's really has helped me to look at my situation with everyone in terms of when I'm in a low state, when I'm vibrating in a low state because I'm not having a great day or whatever emotionally I may be going on, how not to allow that to dictate how I show up because I have to always remember I'm a child of God first.
Yeah, no, I love all of that. Like, for me, it has been my biggest battles has been more relationship based. I don't have kids yet. So I can't relate really to those specifics, but I can, for me, what keeps coming to me as you're talking is when I was in those relationships and I didn't feel seen, I didn't feel understood, right? It was because I didn't see myself, right?
Mm.
So I was expecting for them to come in and see me and love me and do all those things. Like I expected them to fill me up with happiness and with joy. And if they didn't do it, then there's something wrong with them. And I would make them feel like there was something wrong with them when all along there was something wrong with me. Right? Like I was the problem. And the problem was that I wasn't in alignment with God and I didn't see myself the way God sees me. I didn't see myself through his eyes. I didn't see myself through his love and that, he is love. So I am love and that love that he is radiates in me and I have it and feeling it like I wasn't there at all, So I just expected this person to do that for me. So I said hurtful things. I said mean things. I expected the moon from them. And it was just a lot of pressure to put on a human being, right? No one deserves that. And I understand that now. but it did take me to refrain myself now, that if when I do get into my next relationships, that I'm coming whole, right?
Mhm.
And they're gonna be whole, and it's just gonna be a great unionship and a great partnership in understanding that God is our number one, right? Because God, we are an extension of Him, and we are whole in Him. So more my relationships moving forward are going to be healthy relationships, because I am no longer going to depend on them to bring me happiness. My happiness is going to come from knowing that God loves me and I love Him, and He is my everything, and He is my number one, and He is the one that sees me every day, and He is the one that fuels me and fills me up and gives me everything and help me feel seen, right? He's my biggest support, my biggest cheerleader, my biggest confidant, and my everything. And knowing that and leaning into that when I'm with someone, we're just going to blend all this wholeness together. We're not going to be seeking to fill each other's holes. No, I'm coming home, you're coming home, and we're just gonna blend all this wholeness. You're not looking for me to fill your emptiness, and I'm not looking for you to fill any of my emptiness, right? So I can, in that perspective, I can totally, see where you're coming from with this. So I appreciate that.
Man, I love what you just said. And I hope everyone that is listening to this podcast caught that. And because I think we all go through relationships and experience exactly what you're talking about. Every single last one of us have been through that. It's someplace in a relationship that we're in. And I just hope that whoever is out there who's listening to that, maybe for you, maybe it's for someone you know, I hope they get a chance to replay that back and hear what you just said. Because truly, what I heard from anything else is that we are so dependent, or we become dependent in thinking that someone else is supposed to fill our cup.
Mm.
We become so dependent in someone else, of us feeling someone else has to fill our cup, that we get offended when they don't. But the reality is that it's not their place to fill our cup. It's our place to fill our cup. And filling our cup is not on them. Filling our cup comes from our relationship with God. Filling our cup is having that communication with God. Filling our cup is waking up in the morning and having our meditation session with God, because we're connecting with Him and we're preparing our day, and we're saying, God, go ahead of us. And I want you to prepare this day so that what I'm doing moving forward is all for you.
Exactly.
It's framing your day so that there is no surprises. You already know. God's already went ahead. He sent His angels ahead to clear the way so that as you're walking forward, you don't have anything to worry about popping up at you. So
Preach.
when that person's coming at you, when the person you love, the person you're in a relationship with you is coming at you with an energy that you're like, hey, I don't know if I'm ready to receive this. You are ready, because you've already told God to clear the way. You've already told God to give you the words to say. You already told God to make sure that you are prepared for whatever may come, and that His angels are with you. And so when they do come, it's not a surprise. You're not afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Because you already know you have everything you need from Him. And so I love that, because I think too many relationships, oftentimes it's easy, and I won't say too many, it's just oftentimes easy to create a codependency or to create some type of dependency on someone else to do something for you. But in reality, you need to do for yourself, and the other person is only added to you.
Yeah.
They're
No,
only bringing you.
absolutely. No, thank you so much, Antoine, for showing us today that the power of our words, how it can bring death and it can bring destruction, but we do have the ability to reframe that, right? And is understanding who we are and whose we are. And that when we have God, and God is fueling us, and He understanding that He is our everything, and that we're missing nothing, and that He sees us, He understands us, and that when we lean into Him, we then open up the space to see other people just as they are. And we come from a place of love, and we don't offend. We don't want to offend. We want to pause and take the time to think about how we're going to say things and be encouraging, right? And come from a place of love and be constructive in our speech to people, and not take things personally, and not destroy relationships because I wanted to be all about me and be toxic, right? So there is a way out of that. If there's anybody listening that has the suffers from these things, there is a way out. So I'm so grateful for you, Antoine, for coming and giving us these teachings and these blessings, because they're a big blessing to me, with all of this, because again, it's real life stuff that, I have struggled with. And I'm continuing to grow in my relationship with God, and having him just completely fill me up, so much so that I don't depend on anyone, for anything outside of me. You know what I mean? That I need, because God gives me everything that I need. And that's a beautiful place to be. So thank you for that. So I hope you guys just enjoyed this as much as me and Antoine did in creating this. I got so much out of it. Can't wait to have you back again, y'all, for our next episode, which is how we can use our words to build. So today, we went in on how the words that we use cause destruction, and now we're going to talk about how we can use our words to build. As usual, if you have any thoughts, comments, or anything that you would like to share with us, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. And with that, thank you for tuning in. Until our next episode, always remember that having faith in God, having faith in yourself, and having faith in others will create the evolution that you are seeking.